Margaret Howell if she has any inside scoop on that.
Why don't we just deport Sink, you know? I mean, you know.
Start a petition.
I'm joking. All right, Leanne, I got a bunch of callers. I'm going to let you take over. I got to go get ready for this 28-hour broadcast. I apologize to some of the people. If you can get to the end and get to them, that'd be nice. But I got a lot on the leaks. There I went crazy on the Young Turks. I did it. And that'll give that little bully something to blow up about, which is fine. But the facts are, buddy, we're changing the world. You're sinking. Saudi Arabians pulled out of funding and the Qataris. You know, bye-bye.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. You have now entered the Overdrive Hour. I am your host, Leanne McAdoo, taking the reins. Now, one of the big surprising things that has happened today at the DNC, Bernie Sanders actually came out and urged people to back Hillary. Of course, the crowd was absolutely outraged after Sanders came out and said this. This is even after the DNC leaks show that the system was rigged against him and his supporters the entire time. So here he's got people who, you know, a lot of people aren't getting paid that much. He's taking your money, saying that he's going to fight the establishment. He's the candidate that's really going to turn this thing around and fight back against the machine. And then he goes and backs the biggest establishment candidate that there is, even after these DNC leaks. What a huge hypocrite. Let's go ahead and just play a little bit of that video with Bernie Sanders turning on his supporters.
We have got to defeat Donald Trump.
See, he had him there.
And we have got to elect Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine.
Boo. And I've been in there in that room. I know how loud those boos are. Look at him. A little hot under the collar there, Bernie. Boo. Lock her up. Hillary for prison. So you can hear the people chanting there. Look, the crowd has totally turned on him. So come on back, guys. Now, these are people, there are a lot of the people in that room, you can just sort of tell from the way they look. They are Bernie Sanders supporters. And they were saying, you know, Bernie must disavow. Of course, that was one of the top trending hashtags on Twitter over the weekend. And of course, Bernie Sanders' camp did come out and say Debbie Wasserman Schultz needs to step down. This is outrageous. And of course, she did step down and then immediately announced that she's going to join Hillary Clinton's campaign. So what does that tell you about the Clinton campaign? We have Debbie Wasserman Schultz stepping down over an ethics violation and then immediately getting hired by Hillary Clinton, as if she wasn't, you know, now I guess she can just officially be on the payroll. But this is something that we've been pointing out for a long time. This was never going to be about Bernie Sanders. I don't even think that they were expecting such a huge amount of young people. They didn't probably think he was going to tap into the zeitgeist. All along, Bernie Sanders was about forcing the Democratic Party even further to the left. One of these articles out of The Guardian, I think this is an opinion piece, it says, the DNC email leak doesn't show wrongdoing. Bernie is barely a Democrat. So now they're saying, well, it's not bad that the DNC was working against Bernie Sanders the entire time. He wasn't even a Democrat. So that's kind of the new narrative there, so that they're going to placate Bernie Sanders supporters. But I did a report a while back on, you know, what's the difference between a Democrat and a Democratic Socialist. And one of the things that I reported on is if you look at the Democratic Socialists of America's website, one of the things that they answer there in their Q&A, it says, the question is, aren't you a party that's in competition with the Democratic Party for votes and support? And they go on to say, no, we're a separate party, but they work together with the people who they think are going to support progressives and who have a real chance at winning elections, which usually means left-wing Democrats. And they go on kind of more in detail, just showing you that they're a separate party, but they're going to support the really progressive people in the Democratic Party, the left-wing people there, like Hillary Clinton, who they know can get elected. And what Bernie Sanders was put in to do was force the Democrats even further to the left, even into more of these progressive socialist policies. And as we've seen from many people that they say, many young people, you press them, and they admit their ultimate goal is communism. And then they'll tell you how great communism is, and even though it's killed hundreds of millions of people, we should try that here in America because it is so wonderful and so great. It's just the whole thing is rigged, and you guys need to admit it now. You've been totally duped, and Bernie Sanders, what a disappointment for him to come out and say that at the DNC. And I'm really glad that the crowd is now getting to see what's really going on, and that this whole system was rigged, not against him, but against the American people. Now, one of the things that I thought was really exciting when we were at the RNC was seeing Alex Jones on the ground with his microphone in hand. It was like vintage Alex Jones actually going out and interviewing people. He got to talk to Don King. I think he met his favorite globalist, who was that Charlie Rose. And one of the people that we had the chance to interview was Ann Coulter. And she was just there, and she was really kind of excited to see Alex Jones and Roger Stone. She had an interview right after they did. So we went ahead and grabbed her while we had the chance. And here is what Ann Coulter wanted to say to American voters.
Well, here she is, the firebrand of hardcore conservatism. That's right, Ann Coulter here at the RNC on the final day, 2016. Is this history happening? I've never felt so much energy.
Yeah, because there are no Bushes, no Kasich, no McCain. But I do think tonight's the big night. I've been in Cleveland, but really just eating and drinking to celebrate the fruits of my victory. Trump.
All right, guys. Sorry, I didn't know we didn't have enough time. We'll go ahead and show the rest of that interview on the InfoWars YouTube channel, Alex Jones YouTube. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I am your host, Leanne McAdoo, here in the Overdrive Hour. Joining me now in this segment is Margaret Howell, our new and wonderfully lovely reporter. We're going to be getting to some of what they're not telling you about the DNC leaks. And before we get into that, I just want to remind everyone that we are going to be launching our 28-hour broadcast, the Operation Sleeping Giant, starting this Wednesday. And I have a very special product that everyone's going to be signing it. This is the shirt, the Clinton rape shirt that triggered Cenk on the set. And you're also going to get the badge from the radio TV there on Thursday. We're all going to sign it, but this is the triggering shirt right here, and that is going to be up for auction during our 28-hour broadcast. That's coming up this week, Operation Sleeping Giant. I am so excited about that. We always have so much fun. It seems sort of like, oh my gosh, 28 hours of broadcasting, but it's always a blast. We're going to have some surprise special guests. I'm sure we're going to be going live there from the DNC, triggering many, many more folks there on the ground. It's going to be awesome. So be sure you tune in for that. Now, I went ahead and cleared the board from our phone calls that we had earlier because I want to open up the phone only to people who have seen Hillary's America or Clinton Cash. Now, Hillary's America came out this past weekend. It actually cracked the top 10 of movies. This is what the Democrats do not want you to see, the secret history of the Democratic Party and what Hillary's America is going to mean. And also, I know Breitbart was airing Clinton Cash, the Clinton Cash documentary this weekend. So if you were one of the lucky people who got to watch either of these movies, I want you to call in. I want you to tell people what was your key takeaway from these movies and what you want to share with your fellow Americans. What can they learn from watching these movies? Now, when I was there, I obviously had the opportunity to interview Dinesh D'Souza, true patriot here. And I also got to speak with Carol Swain. She played a key role in Hillary's America. She's a professor from Vanderbilt, very well-spoken, and she kind of is a recovering Democrat, if you will. She knew the truth about the Democratic Party, but she kind of just pushed it aside, like I feel a lot of other minorities within the Democratic Party do. They kind of push back the facts a little bit, but it got to a point where it was just too much. She couldn't do it anymore. So I had the opportunity to speak with her. We're going to go ahead and play that video now. Leanne McAdoo with Infowars.com. I am here with Carol Swain, a very prominent voice in the movie Hillary's America, professor of political science and law at Vanderbilt, and you brought such an amazing voice to this film. Talk to me a little bit about it, because my mind is still quite blown, but I know that yours was as well at that moment, being a Democrat and then sort of learning a little bit about the sordid history of the Democratic Party. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I've known the history of the Democratic Party a long time because my specialty is American politics. When I got the opportunity to appear in the film, I saw it as an opportunity to maybe reach a wider audience with the true history of the party. Now, I knew the history of the Democratic Party, but I stayed in the party up until the early 2000s, and then I moved to becoming an independent, and in 2009 I became a Republican. And I believe that the Democratic Party is not the party, it's clearly not the party that a lot of African Americans believe it is. And I'm hoping that this movie will reach a much wider audience and that they will begin to see especially African Americans, that they don't have to stay in the Democratic Party, and that there is a party that offers hope and a way out of the misery that so many people suffer.
And so you can offer some historical accuracy. I mean, what would you say is the key thing that you want to talk to these young people out there? I mean, we see right now with the Black Lives Matter movement, and these people are really activated, very politically active in their communities, but I feel as though they might be being kind of led in a certain way, but maybe they don't have the whole history. What would you say are some of the key points that they need to understand about what they're supporting?
Well, there's so much that they don't understand, and if they are college students, then they need to read about Marxism. Maybe they'll read about it and they'll like it, but they need to know that it's pure Marxism and study they should go from learning about Marxism to studying the impact that it's had on the rest of the world. I think that a lot of African Americans are being deceived. They want a better life. They want a better world. They're being used. And if they truly believe that Black lives matter, they would be concerned about the abortion rate in the Black community. In cities like New York, more Black babies are being aborted than are being born. If they truly cared about Black lives, they really would be concerned about the high Black-on-Black murder rate.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I mean, we've talked about this a lot at InfoWars, but one of the things that I thought was just really spelled out very well in this film was the KKK being the military arm of the Democratic Party. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, and to how they could overnight switch from lynching people to then all of a sudden being your savior. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, the thing about it, people would say, well, the KKK, that was a long time ago, and I would agree that that was a long time ago, but I believe that many of the programs that the Democratic Party pushes enslaves blacks, and when they bring in more and more immigrants, that decreases opportunities for low-wage, low-skilled Americans of all races. So the policies of the Democratic Party are not policies that are going to enable many poor people to overcome their plight. I believe in the American dream. It's been a reality for me. I believe it can be a reality for millions of other people. And if young people want to change America, then I think that they need to equip themselves with some historical knowledge. I also believe that a part of the problem for many Americans, and again, I'm going to keep going back to Black people because I'm Black, is that we put our faith in government now. There was a time when we put our faith in God, but now it's government, and that's a mistake.
And one last question. So what we're hearing a lot now, and I don't know if this is coming out of the schools or whatever, but I hear a lot of young Black people, minorities, saying that the Constitution is not for them. And yes, of course, when it was written, it wasn't, the world was not perfect. Talk to people a little bit about the Constitution. Who was it written for?
Well, the Constitution in many ways was written in a timeless manner. The framers knew that slavery was wrong. In fact, you don't find the word slave or slavery mentioned in the Constitution. Everyone knew that it would be eventually abolished. I think that when we look at our Constitution, we have to look at our freedoms. There's a reason why people are willing to risk their lives to come to America. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of association, all of those things that we take for granted. Our Bill of Rights, that's something that we should cherish. No other country in the world has come up with anything better.
Absolutely. Well, Carol, there you go. So that was a very powerful interview with Carol Swain. You have got to see this movie, Hillary's America. The Democrats do not want you to see this film. It is going to blow your mind, even if you already kind of understand a little bit about the sordid history, especially if you're an InfoWars listener. You've heard some of these things before, but it's really spelled out and done in a very artistic way. And Dinesh D'Souza, he says that the reason why he was able to come up with this idea, kind of the plot for his film, was while he was serving time. The Obama administration was trying to make him suffer, but there he met with a lot of criminals who were explaining how they did their crimes, and he started to recognize a pattern with how they all operate. And he said, wow, this is exactly how the Democrats operate. Are they trying to steal America and it is really good. And I'm also now seeing a lot of callers coming in with Hillary's America as well as Clinton Cash. So we're going to be going to you in just a minute. But first, let's go ahead and talk about the big story that happened over the weekend, the DNC leaks. Of course, WikiLeaks put out about 20,000 emails, I believe, a treasure trove